After my real younger brother was found and brought back home, the family's fake young master, Martin, declared he was going to turn evil. I sighed and knocked on his door. "Martin, why do you want to turn dark?" Through his tears, Martin shouted, "Because I'm fake. None of you will ever love me again." I stood there holding a tray of food. "Can you at least eat first before you go full villain?" Mom made soup. Dad fixed a salad. "The new brother got you dessert." A narrow crack appeared in the door, revealing Martin's tear-streaked, flushed face. "What about you? What did you bring?" I took the chance to slip inside and, leaning in, gently kissed the corner of his reddened eye. "You," I said, my voice low. "You have no idea how long I've held this in, little brother." I knew the whole "switched at birth" thing hit Martin Gorman hard, but I hadn't realized just how hard. Coming home from work, I caught the worried look in our housekeeper's eyes and frowned. "Still refusing to eat?" She sighed. "It's been a whole day. Just a couple sips of water." My jaw tightened. Martin, that brat, really needed a beating every 2 days or he'd try to take the roof off the house. I took the dinner tray the kitchen had prepared and headed upstairs, knocking on his door. "Martin." "What?" Well, at least he still had energy. That was something. I couldn't help but chuckle. "Dinner's ready. There's pork belly soup tonight." "I'm not eating," he howled. "I'm going on a hunger strike." "The hell you are." I clicked my tongue. "I'm counting to 3. If you're not out here, I'll break this door down. 3, 2, 5. The door creaked open. Martin pouted. "Stephen, all you do is break doors." "Can you blame me?" Martin locks himself in and throws tantrums like it's a sport. I've broken every lock on his doors since we were kids. "Eat." I stepped in, tray in hand. He stood in the doorway, sulking. I sighed, pulled him in, and hugged him tight. "Open up. You're too old to be fed by your big bro, isn't it embarrassing?" That hit a nerve. His eyes welled up again. "Who asked you to feed me? You're not even my real brother." He shoved at me, knocking the spoon out of my hand. Hot soup spilled, straight onto the back of my hand. Shit. Pain shot up my arm, but I ignored it, eyes fixed on Martin's stunned face. "What did you just say?" I asked, voice dangerously low. "I'm what?" Martin had always been afraid of me. Afraid and utterly dependent. He's 5 years younger, spoiled rotten by our parents. I had to keep him in check so he wouldn't grow up into a complete waste of space. But Martin wasn't a bad kid at heart. Just pampered, temperamental, and stubborn. I didn't mind. He was my little brother. I was happy to spoil him. But if he refused to acknowledge me as his brother, that I couldn't tolerate. He realized he'd gone too far. Normally, he'd have thrown himself into my arms by now, clinging to me with cries of, "Big bro, I was wrong." Not this time. He lifted his chin stubbornly. "I'm not wrong. We're not even related. You're not my brother." "Oh really?" Kid needed to be reminded who raised him. I tossed the spoon aside, yanked him over, bent him across my knee, and pulled down his pants. "Stephen, let me go. I'm 20, you can't spank me anymore." Martin kicked wildly like a rabbit trying to fight off an eagle. "You could be 80 and I'd still spank you." Smith. My palm landed square on his backside. But Martin burst into tears on the spot. I froze. That slap wasn't even hard. I flipped him over and looked at him, his face all crumpled and wet with tears. A few seconds later, I caved, pulling him into my arms. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have hit you." Martin buried his face in my chest and wailed, "Stephen, you bastard! Do you not love me anymore?" Don't love him? Hell, I've practically given my life to this brat. I knew when I was 12 that Martin wasn't our biological family. It came out during elementary school health checkups. His blood type didn't match. A DNA test confirmed he wasn't my parents' child. A mix-up at the hospital. My parents never made a fuss. They started searching for their real son but kept treating Martin like their own. No less love, no less care. They ordered me to do the same. Didn't matter to me. Blood or no blood, Martin was my brother. He came with me wherever I went. But man, what a headache he's been. In elementary school, he picked fights and dragged me in to back him up. I was in middle school. The other guy was in high school. I almost got shoved into a dumpster. In middle school, he failed every subject and got called in for parent-teacher meetings. I flew back from my own school just to get chewed out by his cranky teacher like I was a delinquent. In high school and college, he got into rock music and started a band. I got him a bar so he could perform. His bandmates ended up dabbling in illegal crap, gambling, drugs, you name it. I pulled every string to keep him out of jail. And just when things were finally settling down, our real little brother was found. If our real brother turns out to be anything like Martin, I swear I'll lose my mind. One brother like him is more than enough for this lifetime. Martin was still crying, soaking my shoulder. I sighed. There went my $12,000 custom-tailored suit. After a while, he finally looked up, his hair brushing against my chin, soft and fluffy, like a kitten. "What is it?" I scratched his chin gently. Martin sniffled. "My butt's cold." I forgot to pull his pants back up. I yanked up his pajama pants, gave his waist a little shake. "Can we eat now?" Martin huffed. Then his gaze dropped to the red scald on the back of my hand, and his eyes started watering again. "Why didn't you move away?" I said. "If I dodged, it would have landed on you." Martin tugged at his pajama shirt, muttering, "I was wearing clothes. Even if it spilled on me, it wouldn't have burned that bad." I sighed and pressed my chin lightly against the top of his head. "As long as your big brother's here, how could I let you get hurt? When have I ever let you get hurt?" Martin's eyes welled up again. He buried himself in my chest and whispered, "I'm sorry." My lips brushed his forehead, warm and a little salty. For a second, my brain blanked. "Bro." I looked down. Martin was still curled in my lap, staring up at me. His eyes were big, his face unfairly pretty. I cleared my throat and quickly set him back down, tugging awkwardly at my pants. "No need to say sorry. Just eat." "Okay," he mumbled, obediently sitting down at the little table. He just picked up the spoon when a knock came at the door. "Big young master, the housekeeper called from the hallway. Sir and madam, they've returned with the new young master." And there it was. Dread twisted in my gut. Sure enough, the next second, Martin dropped his spoon into the soup with a plop and started wailing again. "I knew it. You guys don't want me anymore. I'm going evil." Seriously, Mom and Dad, your timing is always impeccable. If you'd come home 5 minutes later, I could have at least made Martin finish his soup. Banished from the room, I sighed and headed downstairs to meet my real little brother. Andrew Morgan. We'd met a few times before, but each time I saw him, I still had to take a moment. He looked so much like Dad. Fast forward 50 years and he'd be a carbon copy. "Andrew, go on, call your big brother." Mom nudged him toward me. Andrew looked a little shy, face flushed. "Hi, the big brother." I nodded, reached out to pat his shoulder, but spotted the spiky studs on his jacket and redirected to patting his head instead. "Good bow." "Stephen!" A furious roar exploded from upstairs. I flinched. Looking up, I saw Martin clutching the banister, eyes red and fixed on me like lasers. "You try touching him again. Go on, just try it." I froze, hand hovering. And then I felt something fuzzy under my palm. Turning my head, I realized Andrew had quietly tiptoed over to get his head under my hand. Parents had to balance both hands. No favorites, both sons needed love. "Big brother, do you think your little brother doesn't like me?" Andrew asked me in the living room, his voice soft and uncertain. I studied him for a moment. Instead of answering, I asked, "You were raised by the Morgan family, right? The one in real estate?" He blinked, then nodded. "Yeah." I couldn't help but laugh. "Then how'd you end up so shy?" Andrew faltered, expression twitching. "I just got here and I'm a little nervous. You and your little brother are both so capable, I was afraid you'd look down on me. I was scared he wouldn't like me." I sighed. "You're rich, you're handsome, your family's wholesome as hell, and you're afraid people would look down on you? Listen to me, kid. Inferiority complex and generational wealth do not go together. Be honest with me, little bro." I patted his spiky jacket with forced affection. From now on we're family. Martin has a temper, sure, but he's not a bad person. None of us will look down on you. Just be yourself. Andrew's eyes flickered. Really? I can be whoever I want. I mean, how bad could it get? After everything Martin's pulled over the years, my trauma threshold is bulletproof. Then, in the very next second, Andrew said, softly, almost gleefully, actually, I'm gay. And I think your little brother is really cute when he's angry. Excuse me? So you're gay, and that gives you the right to find my brother cute? You're gay, so you get a pass to flirt with my brother? You're gay, so you can just compete with me for Martin? Hold on. All my anger came to a screeching halt. I mentally rewound that last thought. Compete with me? Am I into Martin? Bro. Andrew waved a hand in front of my face, looking concerned. Are you okay? You said I could be myself, so if you've got a problem with... No, I rubbed my temples. I don't have any issue with your sexuality. Andrew looked like he was about to smile, until I added, but Martin is off limits. His smile collapsed. But is it because he... Stephen, get up here. Mom's voice rang from the staircase, high and frantic. Martin locked himself in again. We can't get the door open. Coming. I stood up and rushed toward the stairs. Halfway up, I turned and pointed at Andrew. No reason. Just no. Don't even think about it. Martin's off limits. Martin had really mastered the art of locking himself in. I spent 10 minutes at his door trying to coax him out. From inside, the only thing I heard over and over was, I'm not coming out. The more I heard it, the more something felt off. Eventually, I stopped caring about his privacy and picked the lock. The door gave way. I pushed it open. Just as I suspected, he wasn't inside. The balcony door was wide open. His phone lay tossed on the bed, still playing a looped voice recording. I'm not coming out. I want to be alone. Oh hell, Martin, where did you get down from? My mom rushed in behind me and, upon seeing the scene, instantly panicked. This is the 3rd floor. It's fine, Dad jumped in to soothe her. Martin's always been sturdy. I'm sure he's fine. I bolted to the balcony and leaned over the railing, but he was long gone. No sign of him anywhere. Sir. The gardener called up, waving desperately from the ground floor, face twisted in distress. Young master took my electric tricycle and rode off with it. I leaned over further. Do you know where he went? The gardener scratched his head. No idea, but I think I heard something about turning evil. My parents looked at me, bewildered and worried. What does that mean? I didn't answer. I was already heading down the stairs, grabbing my coat on the way out, cursing under my breath. This idiotic kid, what the hell is going on in that ridiculous brain of his? Stephen! My mom grabbed my arm. Talk to Martin nicely. He's an adult now, you can't keep spanking him like when he was little. I let out a cold laugh. Don't worry. I'm not going to spank him. I've got other ways of dealing with him. I started thinking like Martin. What's the first step in a villain origin story? Indulgence. Corruption. Rebellion. Strength. That kind of thing. So I drove straight to the bar district. Didn't even have to look hard. The second I parked, I spotted the electric tricycle, stood out like a sore thumb among a sea of luxury cars. I glanced up at the bar sign, frowning. This place was known for being sketchy. I'd specifically warned Martin not to come here. Inside, the dance floor was a chaos of flashing lights and pounding EDM. My ears were ringing within seconds. I gestured frantically at the manager. Looking for someone, young guy, white jacket, jeans, about 6 feet tall. The manager leaned in, struggling to hear. What? Who? What the hell? Just when I was on the verge of burning this whole place down out of sheer frustration, something hit me. A jolt, like psychic static down my spine. I turned on instinct. At the far end of the corridor, I saw Martin, being half-dragged, half-carried into a private room. He was clearly drunk, his steps unstable, but his resistance was obvious. Let go! The music was still blasting, but somehow, through all the noise, I heard his voice, clear and soft. I want my brother. I want Stephen. It had been a long time since I laid hands on anyone. My dad always taught me that in life, and especially in business, you should keep the peace. But that logic flew out the window when it came to Martin. If he's wronged, I lose it. If he's hurt, I lose it. If anyone so much as looks at him the wrong way, I snap. And tonight, I snapped hard. No disrespect to Dad, but I came to when Martin was slumped in my arms and the drunk guy who'd touched him was groaning in a trash can. The manager stopped playing dumb real quick, yelling and flailing. I silenced him with one punch, ready to land a second, when someone tugged on my sleeve. Bro! I looked down. Martin's eyes were glassy with tears. I don't feel good. Panic gripped my gut, but I didn't dare let it show. I didn't want him to get more scared. I squeezed his hand. Where does it hurt? I'll take you to the hospital. Don't worry, I've got you. Martin held my hand and started guiding it down. Lower and lower, until it landed on something familiar, but entirely wrong. Familiar because I had one. Wrong because this was Martin. I froze, then slowly looked down into his feverish, flushed eyes. Bro, he whispered, hoarse and broken. I muttered under my breath, I must have owed you a whole damn lifetime in my last one. I threw my jacket around him, wrapped him up in my arms, and strode out of the bar, straight to the car, into the back seat. You want me to take your pants off too? I asked, voice rough, leaning close to his burning forehead. Martin covered his eyes with his hand, whether to deny what was happening or just hide from it. I couldn't tell. I chuckled under my breath, unbuckling his belt. Stupid brat. Martin passed out afterward, leaving me sitting there, overwhelmed with nowhere to vent. You little idiot. I poked his face, carefully, not enough to wake him. Dumb-ass piglet. He whimpered and burrowed deeper into my arms. I sighed. What can I do? He's a mess, but he's my mess. He reeked of booze, so I didn't take him home. Instead, I checked us into a nearby hotel and texted my parents to let them know he was safe. I had just relaxed when my phone lit up, new contact request. Big brother, it's Andrew. I hit accept, and didn't even get a chance to reply before he blew up my screen with 2 full paragraphs. The glare from the white screen nearly blinded me. I squinted, reading line after line. The gist, he didn't know why I wouldn't let him like Martin, but he respected my wishes anyway. Oh, and how was Martin? I replied with a short text. I found him. Get some rest. I'll bring him home tomorrow. Andrew replied instantly. You're not coming back tonight? So you two are spending the whole night together? Big brother, you and Martin? What do you mean, me and you? The voice came from my arms, so suddenly I nearly dropped my phone right on Martin's head. When did you wake up? He sniffled, wiping at his nose. Just now. Your phone's too bright. I glanced at the screen, brightness at 5%. I said nothing. You still haven't answered me. Martin looked up at me, eyes steady. What are we, Stephen? I stared back at him for a few seconds, then quietly slipped my phone away. If you're awake, I said, voice low and deliberate, then don't worry about what we are. Just tell me, do you want to take off your pants yourself, or should I help you? Martin froze. Then, like a startled animal, he tried to bolt. I caught his shoulder and pushed him back down beneath me, pinning him firmly as my gaze turned cold. Martin, you've really grown some guts, haven't you? Locking doors, climbing out windows? Sneaking off to bars to get wasted? Do you have any idea how dangerous it is to scale a balcony? If I hadn't found you tonight, you could have ended up in a back alley with your ass. I cut myself off, furious. Martin, do you need me to lock you up for you to behave? You can't lock me up. That's a violation of my personal freedom. Martin thrashed beneath me, arms swinging wildly. I failed to catch one in time, and crack. A sharp slap landed across my cheek. Both of us froze. I reached up, touching my face. Holy shit. Did this brat really just slap me? I didn't mean to. Martin scrambled up, reaching toward me, guilt all over his face. Bro, I didn't mean it. I dodged his touch on purpose. His hand landed on empty air. He stopped dead. He stared at me, stunned, helpless, like a baby animal that didn't know what to do. All he could do was stammer again and again, "I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to." I looked at him for a long moment, then quietly got off the bed and started getting dressed. "Steven, bro." Martin jumped down, trailing me, his voice shaky, almost crying. "Where are you going? Why are you leaving? You said I was violating your rights, didn't you?" I tried to keep my tone cold. "You think I care too much. You think I don't love you. You want to go dark, right?" I grabbed my coat, turned around, and forced my face into a blank expression. "Fine. I won't care anymore, okay? Go be free. Go turn evil. Do whatever you want. I don't need to waste my time loving someone who doesn't appreciate it. Isn't that better?" "No." Martin lunged and wrapped his arms around my waist, clinging so tight it almost hurt. "You're not leaving. You can't stop caring. Steven, you can't." I felt the wetness of his tears on my shoulder, and I sighed inwardly. But I didn't raise my arms to hold him back. "Hold me." When I didn't respond, Martin suddenly lifted his head, his eyes red, his voice fierce but trembling. "Steven, hold me. Do it. Now." I didn't move. "No." He stared at me for a few seconds. Then the tears started falling, huge, silent drops, one after another, like a pearl necklace suddenly snapped loose. I had never seen Martin cry like that before. He was always dramatic, sure, but his crying was mostly show. He knew I couldn't bear to see him upset, so he'd wail just loud enough to get his way. But this wasn't for show. This was a full-on emotional breakdown. Actually, it wasn't the first time. I looked at his face and memories pulled me under. Hadn't he cried like this before? Maybe when I was in middle school, after getting punched in a fight I took on for him, he'd held me and sobbed, begging me not to die. Or maybe in college, when my flight hit turbulence and nearly went down, he'd grab me at the airport, crying like the world had ended. Or maybe on his 18th birthday, when we blew out the candles together, and he'd suddenly burst into tears without saying a word. Come to think of it, all of Martin's real, gut-wrenching cries were somehow because of me. Am I the one who keeps hurting him? Steven. Martin tugged at the hem of my shirt, clinging tight, not letting go. Hold me. Just hold me, Steven, so I can know. The last part faded into a whisper. Before I could ask what he meant, he suddenly threw himself at me again. I pushed his shoulder gently, trying to get him to finish the sentence, but that little push seemed to break something inside him. Like he'd misunderstood it as outright rejection. His emotions collapsed. Why did everything change when he came? He cried, his voice breaking. Why did it have to be like this? Why am I the one who always gets thrown away? I froze. Thrown, what? You're all liars. Martin sobbed, barely able to stand. His beautiful face was pale and messy with tears. You said you loved me, said we were family, but it was all lies. You're the biggest liar, Steven. You only love whoever's your brother. Whoever gets brought into the Gorman family. Whoever has the Gorman name. His words were swallowed. I cupped his tear-streaked face and kissed him hard, on his lips, on the tears, on the words I refused to let him say. And in that tangled breath, I spoke. I never lied to you. I love you, not because of your name, not because of who you are to anyone else. I love you, simply because you're Martin. I'd known since I was 20 that I wasn't straight. Girls didn't do it for me. Not really. But back then, Martin was just a mouthy little teenager, full of fire and rebellion. He was my brother, and I saw him only as that. But something shifted somewhere along the way. Maybe it was that tearful hug at the airport. Maybe it was the way his eyes shimmered when the birthday candles went out. Or maybe it was every time he dragged out my name like it meant everything to him. Steven. Martin was demanding, spoiled, and temperamental. But he was also sweet, brave, honest, and kind. I liked him. I really liked him. And once I realized that, there was no going back. I pulled Martin tighter, kissing him deep, as if I could swallow him whole, as if that would finally make him a part of me, completely, irreversibly. Sometimes, I whispered, I really do thank the heavens for letting me find out early on that you're not actually my blood brother." Between breaths, I wiped away the tear clinging to the corner of Martin's eye and murmured, "Martin, I don't care what kind of gossip you heard, or where you picked up those doubts, but there's one thing you should never question: I love you." Martin looked up at me, searching my eyes as if trying to gauge whether I was telling the truth. His tears still wouldn't stop. I didn't know how someone could carry so much pain inside them, but I would catch every drop if I had to. Finally, he moved. Martin reached up and gripped the front of my shirt, like he needed proof, like he had to confirm something with his own hands. Then, almost desperately, he pulled me into a kiss. "Say you love me, Stephen." I let him kiss me, even bite a little, and whispered into the heat between us, "I love you. Again. I love you." He looked me dead in the eye, pupils trembling like flames caught in a storm. "Say you'll love me for the rest of your life." I pulled him into my arms, not just giving in but meaning every word. "I'll love you for the rest of my life." It took more than 30 minutes to calm him down. His tears finally stopped. My lips were dry from whispering soft reassurances over and over. I reached for a glass of water, but Martin still wouldn't let go of me, so I ended up carrying him with me to the living room to pour us both something to drink. "Now," I said, settling with him on the couch, "are you ready to tell me what's got you so upset?" As I took another sip of water, I felt something wet against the corner of my mouth. I looked down. Martin had leaned in and was gently licking away the droplets clinging to my lips. A heat shot through my chest. I grabbed his waist and said meaningfully, "You really don't care about your waist or your ass, do you?" His face flushed deep red, and he instantly pulled back. "I was just thirsty." Well, after all that crying, of course he was. I started to stand up to get him a glass, but he pushed me back down by the shoulder. I looked into his slightly embarrassed eyes, raised an eyebrow, and leaned in again. Water slid between our lips, and I pressed against his lower back to deepen the kiss. He coughed a few times after we pulled apart. I almost choked. I patted his back and laughed. "You don't even know what you're doing and you're already trying to act slick." Martin mumbled under his breath, "And you think you're such a good kisser?" You bit my lip. I cleared my throat and pinched his waist. "All right, Martin. Spill it. How did you get it into your head that we don't love you? That we'd abandon you? Did someone say something to you?" "No." Martin looked hesitant, then flopped against my shoulder again, clearly hoping to dodge the question. I rubbed his back and spoke gently. "Tell me. It's okay. No matter what happened, I'll stand by you. I'm not just going to walk away." Silence stretched between us. I waited. Eventually, Martin sat up and met my eyes, his voice steady, his tone slow and deliberate. "I've known for a while now that I'm not really part of the Gorman family." The answer hit me like a punch to the chest. "When?" Martin didn't flinch. His face was honest, far too honest to be faked. "On my 18th birthday. The moment I blew out the candles, someone told me, I'm not supposed to be Martin. 18. The first day of adulthood. And fate played the cruelest trick on him. That day, Martin started seeing the barrage, floating text in the air, messages no one else could see. Imposter. Give the real heir back his life. I hate him. Why does he get to steal the protagonist's family and name? Whose birthday do you think it is? Hurry up and get rid of this background character already." Martin had been completely blindsided. He read the messages one by one, horrified. And he finally understood. He wasn't the real young master of the Gorman family. He was a swap child. A stand-in. A fake. Someone who had never deserved the love and warmth showered upon him. At first, he thought it was some sort of weird hallucination. Something from drinking too much. But once doubt is planted, it never stops growing. Secretly, he got a DNA test. And it confirmed everything. From that moment on, Martin lived in fear. He was terrified the real Martin would show up. Terrified that the illusion he'd lived for 18 years would shatter. That everything he had would be snatched away overnight. He didn't want to lose Mr. and Mrs. Gorman. He didn't want to lose the love he'd grown up with. But most of all, he couldn't bear to lose Stephen. Stephen loved him like a brother. That's why he was kind. But Martin's feelings had already mutated into something else, something deeper, something forbidden. Now that he knew they weren't truly related, it changed everything. It wasn't enough anymore. He wanted more. So much more. But he was afraid. Ashamed. Unworthy. Then the real Gorman air came back, and the dream he'd guarded so carefully collapsed like a soap bubble. How could he not be scared? How could he not break down? And worst of all, in Stephen's arms he saw the barrage return. Get out of his arms, imposter! Stephen never should have loved you. You're not even brothers. Stop pretending. Martin finally lost it, screaming the only thing he could manage. You're not even my brother. But behind every ragged breath, every hoarse cry, was the same desperate plea. Don't leave me, Stephen. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I held him tightly, guilt and heartache crushing down on me. How could I have let him carry this alone? How had I not seen it? This was my fault. I didn't want you to worry about me, Martin mumbled against my chest. You already do so much for me. I didn't want you to think I was being dramatic, or lying, or just making things up for attention. So he'd stayed silent. He faked being okay. Pretended nothing was wrong. Made everything look normal. Is that really how you see me? I asked, hurt simmering under my voice. You'd rather believe those ridiculous messages than just ask me? I wasn't sure who I was angrier at, Martin or myself. I know you think I'm difficult, Martin murmured, eyes lowered. His voice was subdued, a little defeated. You think I'm selfish, spoiled? And since the truth's out, that I'm not really your blood brother, I knew Andrew would be brought back eventually. I was scared that once he arrived, you'd find me even more unreasonable, even more annoying. So I thought maybe I should change. Change what? I cut him off sharply, gripping his chin with one hand and forcing him to look up at me. Martin, I said slowly, clearly, you don't need to change a damn thing. I stared into his eyes, locking him in place with every word. Your temper, your bratty attitude, the way you're sweet 1 minute and impossible the next, you've got 180 different bad habits, and I accept every single one of them. Because I love you. I leaned down and kissed his wide, stunned eyes. A faint smile tugged at my lips. All those things, they make you. They make your soul whole, complete. And there's one thing that makes me love you without hesitation. You know what it is? Martin's breath caught. He looked down, then up and back down again. It took him a few tries to fight through his embarrassment. Then he whispered, because I love you, Stephen. Hearing Martin say he loved me, so soft and sincere, calling me Stephen in that sweet, obedient voice, it was like a siren call designed to make me do crimes. But not now. First, I needed to take away every ounce of fear he still carried in his heart. I wrapped an arm around his waist, pulling him close. Tell me, I asked gently, what else did the barrage say? I want to know everything. His cheek rested against my shoulder as he mumbled, not much. Just stuff like, I'm a fraud. A stepping stone. That I'm just cannon fodder for the real protagonist. For Andrew. My jaw clenched. I hadn't even realized my fist had tightened until... Ow, Martin winced softly. I snapped out of it, immediately loosening my grip. But he tugged my arm right back around him, whispering, it only hurt a little. I didn't say to let go. God, how could someone be this soft? My heart ached and melted all at once. Don't believe a single word of that crap, all right? I pressed a kiss to his forehead. Mom, Dad, and we all love you. You've lived with us for 20 years. Andrew showing up doesn't make you an outsider. Got it? And besides, I added, suddenly remembering, Andrew's not going to be around full-time anyway. The Morgans raised him with every possible ounce of affection. They aren't willing to give him up either. He and Mom and Dad agreed, he'll only stay here for half of each month. The rest of the time he's living with the Morgans. Martin froze at that. He tilted his head, confused. Wait, if I was switched with Andrew, does that mean I'm the Morgan family's biological son? When Martin was born, our region had been hit by the biggest earthquake in a century. He was a premature baby and had to stay in the NICU. Amid the chaos, When doctors and nurses scrambled to evacuate the babies, a few of their identities got mixed up. "It's okay," I said, gently rocking him in my arms. "Mom and Dad have been trying to contact all the families whose kids were in the NICU that day. They'll find your biological parents eventually." Martin didn't respond. He leaned into my shoulder, lost in thought. "But even if we never find them," I said, shifting to hold him tighter, "you're still a Gorman to me. You're still my little brother. You're still the person I love. That will never change. Forget the barrage. Forget the rumors. They're just third-party noise. The only people who know what this love really is are us." Martin didn't say anything. I looked down worried, only to find him asleep in my arms, deeply, peacefully, like a child who finally felt safe again. "Martin, baby." I chuckled softly, brushing a kiss across his fluffy hair. "Good night." The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Half asleep, I grabbed it and squinted at the screen. A video call, from Dad. "What's up?" I croaked, eyes barely open. "Everything okay?" "Where's Martin? Is he all right? When are you two coming back?" Dad sounded worried, genuinely anxious. "Your mother and I are both concerned." I reached over and gently pulled the sleeping boy closer. "He's here. He's fine. We'll come home this afternoon." Martin stirred, grouchy with sleep, limbs flailing. Eventually he bit my arm and whined, "Steven, you're so annoying. I barely got any sleep last night." I instinctively leaned down and kissed him to calm him down. Okay, sleep. I won't bother you." When I looked back up, I was greeted by the thunderous glare of my father on the screen. "Steven Gorman, get your ass home this instant." I guess we just found out where Martin inherited that loud voice of his. Martin was jolted awake by the sound. His hair was sticking out in every direction. He sat up, confused. Did an asteroid hit Earth? Nothing that dramatic. I ended the call, pulled him back into my arms. But it seems like Dad figured us out. "What?" "My ears." Martin scrambled out of bed, frantically dressing and brushing his teeth. "What do we do? What if your parents try to break us up?" We should probably..." "Should probably what?" I hooked an arm around his waist and gently pushed him back onto the bed, my lashes lowered, voice mock-wounded. "Martin doesn't want to acknowledge me? You want to keep me a secret? Make me your underground lover? We already slept together, Martin. Are you really gonna pretend it didn't mean anything?" Martin flushed, caught between outrage and laughter. "Hey, who's supposed to be responsible for who here? And we didn't sleep together, we just kissed, okay? That's it." "Oh," I said, eyes still downcast, voice teasingly quiet. "So just a kiss doesn't mean you have to take responsibility?" "That's not what I meant." Martin wrapped his arms around my waist, his face crimson and heartbreakingly beautiful. My gaze darkened. My palm rested on his waist, warm and slender. I had the urge to mark him, to claim him. But I held back. I could wait. I wanted to hear it from him. I wanted a title. A name for what we were. Martin finally looked up, about to speak. Then his expression froze. His face went pale. "What's wrong?" I immediately leaned down to kiss him, trying to calm whatever had unsettled him. His lips moved slowly. "I'm seeing the barrage again." I frowned. "What are they saying?" Martin looked miserable, on the verge of tears. "They're saying I'm shameless, that I seduced you just so I could stay in the Gorman family." My brow immediately furrowed. I couldn't see the barrage he was talking about, but I could see the pain in his eyes. And I could not stand seeing Martin hurt. "Seduced me?" I went quiet for a few seconds. Then I gave a low laugh. I lowered my head and kissed his earlobe, slowly trailing down his neck, my hands guiding his to my waist, lower, letting his palm rest along the curve of my abdomen. Drawing in a breath, I held his hand there, moving gently as I whispered, "I think those comments got it all wrong. They don't even know who's really seducing who." Martin's hand twitched. "Steven," he whispered. I looked down into his eyes, voice low and coaxing, "Tell me, who's seducing who right now?" He stared at me for a long beat, then finally broke into a smile and leaned in for a kiss. You're seducing me, big brother. At least this time, I didn't have to sleep alone. Martin, my sweet baby, was being so good. After a quick wash and some breakfast, I drove him home. He was quiet on the way back. I glanced at him, concerned. Still seeing the barrage? Martin shook himself from his thoughts. No, they don't show up all the time. Just now and then. Then what are you thinking about? He hesitated, then said softly, I'm just worried. Do you think Mom and Dad will be upset about us? That they'll think I'm a bad influence on you? Oh, sweetheart. I held back a laugh. If anything, they're 300% more likely to think I corrupted you. Sure enough, the moment I turned into the driveway, the front door flew open, and there was my dad, storming out, wielding a feather duster like a sword. Wait, let me explain. Explain. You get over here right now, Stephen. Right now. Like hell I would. I jumped out of the car and bolted. Come on, Dad. I thought you said men should be calm and reasonable. I'll calm and reason your legs off. How dare you do that to your little brother? I'll break both your damn knees. He wasn't bluffing. The man had lungs like a stadium announcer and legs like a track star. The feather duster grazed the back of my head 3 separate times. Dad! Martin tried to run interference, but my mom and Andrew held him back. Let him go for now, my mom said tearfully. Martin, just tell me, did Stephen force you? Did he push you into it? Did he make you? She choked, unable to finish the sentence. Our son, our good son. He wasn't raised to be ruined like this. No, Ma. It's not like that. Martin was at his limit, waving his arms and trying to mediate both sides. When he finally gave up, he stomped his foot and shouted, I did it willingly. I've liked Stephen for a long time, okay? I've always known I wasn't biologically yours, and I chose him. If you keep hitting him, I'll go dark for real. My heart swelled. I blew him a kiss mid-sprint. You're the best, baby. Dad, not the face. In the end, Martin locked himself in his room in protest, and that's the only thing that spared me from further beatings. I limped into the house, one shoe nearly flying off, bruised and breathless. Andrew trailed behind me, barely suppressing laughter. Bro, you and Martin are really in love, huh? I shot him a glare. If you know we're in love, why'd you try to hit on him in the first place? Andrew immediately flared up. So that's why you wouldn't let me pursue him. You already had designs on him. What the hell do you mean, designs? I smacked the back of his head. Martin and I are mutually in love, thank you. Andrew clutched his skull. Then why are Mom and Dad trying to break you up? I draped an arm over his shoulder and sighed. Because they're parents, man. What's that supposed to mean? It means they love Martin like their own. He is their son. And no parent's going to take it well when their precious child gets, well, plucked. Even if it's by their other son. Between the two of us, Martin's the one they treasure more. He's the soft spot. Andrew nodded thoughtfully. So, you're saying you're the pig that plucked their cabbage? Was this kid dropped on his head? I stared at him, speechless. Andrew burst out laughing, then gave me a shove toward the stairs. Come on, go comfort your prince. I even bought him an ice cream cake. It'll melt if you wait too long. I gave a soft hum and started up, only to pause and look back. You're part of this family too, Andrew. You're our little gem just as much as Martin. Mom, Dad, and I will never treat you unfairly. As for love, Martin's the only one I've ever chosen. Martin had locked his door. I stood outside for 10 minutes, trying to reason with him. Was this the kind of treatment a boyfriend deserved? Martin, can you go dark after dinner? I knocked gently. Mom made soup. Dad made tuna salad. Andrew bought your favorite desserts. Please just eat a little? After a moment, the door cracked open a sliver. When I peeked out, is there more? I thought for a second. We've also got coral trout, tiger prawns, and king crab. Oh, and Dad's grilling in the backyard. You want skewers? Martin looked at me like I was an idiot. I wasn't talking about food. The door opened fully. I grinned and took my chance, stepped in and pulled him into my arms in one swift motion. "What do you think I was going to do?" I whispered, brushing a kiss along his cheek and down to the corner of his lips. "Can't you guess, baby?" Martin turned red and avoided my eyes, but he didn't push me away. In fact, he held me tighter. "I can guess," he murmured. "What is it?" I teased. Martin's blush deepened, but he answered anyway. "Me." Like a plucked harp string, something trembled deep in my chest. I kissed him, slow and lingering. "That's right. But there's no rush. We have all the time in the world. Come downstairs with me. I want to talk to Mom and Dad about our wedding." Martin's eyes flew wide. We're going to have a wedding?" "Of course we are." I tapped his forehead lightly. "We're not hiding anything. You're mine, out in the open. Or, are you having second thoughts?" "No." Martin clung to me, voice cracking with emotion. "I used to think, if you ever got married, the best I could hope for was being your best man." I pulled him closer, holding him like he was the center of my universe. "Martin's going to be my groom." At that, he broke into a glowing smile. Then he looked up at me, eyes sparkling. "Stephen, I see the barrage again. Want to know what they're saying?" He didn't look upset, so I asked, "What's?" Martin tiptoed and kissed my lips softly. His voice was as warm as his gaze. "They're wishing us a lifetime of happiness." I laughed, held him by the waist, and deepened the kiss. "A lifetime's not enough. I want 1,000 years. 10,000. Forever."
Thanks for stopping by. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos.